which is a corn wet milling plant in Davangere, which produces glucose and maltodextrin to start with, and we'll be producing more products, adding more products as we go on. We have our animal feed and animal nutrition business based here, and also in Bangalore, just as I was talking, we have our biggest office services center anywhere in the world, based out of Bangalore. So it's a combination of the knowledge and the production as well as the agri-industry element that we have here in the state of Karnataka. One thing common to all of us sitting on the dais here is the fact that we are already operating large businesses in the state of Karnataka. The other element common to us is that we are also operating large businesses in other parts of the country. And very often, and that's the good news, that today a lot of states are actually competing for investment. My personal belief is that while we need to focus on getting new investments, the best source of investment actually is the growth of the existing investments. And nothing better to hear firsthand from people who are invested in the state to share with us what their experience has been, and not just in isolation, but also relative to their operations in other parts of the country, and where do they see the opportunities for improvement, which could then be showcased to the new investors to say that, okay, these people are invested in the state, they're doing well, they're happy, and so you also please come and join this initiative or effort. So I'll start with Sanjay, who's probably with their food park, they are into a space which is relatively new, and therefore would be interesting to know what does a food park mean here, and has the progress or the performance been what you had started off with the objective when you started?
Thank you, Siraj. So the idea of putting in the food park was to take the farm produce from the farm to the folk. So the idea of putting in a food park was to create a network of people who can actually facilitate the farm produce from the farmer to the ultimate consumer. With that aim, the first of group's food park was put in Tumkur. Obviously, so far as the policies of the Karnataka government is concerned, they are very upbeat. It was the first state, as we know, to have given the agri budget, and also give the agribusiness policy. They have a separate agribusiness policy. They have established Karnataka Udyog Mitra, which is facilitating the industry to set up units and facilitate the transition from investment phase to the implementation phase. Obviously, there are few single window clearances which has been given at the state and district level. So considering all these things, we believe that Karnataka is an ideal place to put in food processing facilities. Apart from things you have already talked about, of so much of agri-produce which is already available there, and that is the reason why Karnataka is called Bounteous Karnataka. With this aim, the food park was put in. So far as policies and inclination of government is concerned, it's very positive. At the ground level, there are few challenges which needs to be addressed, and those are more relative, those are more central driven, as we were talking just outside. One was not allowing industry to own a land within a food park is a major challenge which we are facing. So what we can do is only give people land on lease, which also brings in the service tax element, making the facility inside the food park much more expensive in comparison to the outside. But as a group, I mentioned that we are part of Future Group. We are investing a huge amount of money in food park. We have invested close to about 300 crores already into rice mill, combi mill, which is a flour mill. We have also invested into cookies plant. We have aseptic pulping line. We have got IQF facilities, and a lot of other things have been done. So the idea is we are inviting not only within the group a lot of companies to come in and set up food processing unit there, but we are also inviting outside people to come in, and few of the outside world, outside entrepreneurs have shown confidence in us. There has been already few units in dips and sauces. We have got, we've got wafer biscuit plant which has been set up. We have also tied up with 2 international companies, Future Life to put in a health food facility there, and also Hain Celestial, which is going to put in, chips factory there. So the challenges which we are talking about is, number one is the acquisition of land, as you've already rightly pointed out. So, rather than the entire land coming to us in one tranche, it came to us in multiple tranches, which doesn't allow us, to plan it accordingly, which is, I think, one of the challenge which has been faced. Apart from that, relatively, if you compare, there are a few issues on electrical duties and also the investment of, promotion of 65 lakh, which has been given, is considering, as you rightly pointed out, the industry, food processing industry is still considered as a very, very small industry, small sector industry, and that is the reason the 65 lakhs which we are talking about would not be enough. In comparison, the neighboring states are giving about 3 to 5 crores of subsidies for investment there, and also there are electrical exemptions duty of about 1 rupees 50 paisa per unit, which has been given. So these are few issues which is, obviously related only to the food park, and which needs to be addressed, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. I think that was a very sort of transparent depiction of the opportunities that you are dealing with and the challenges that you're facing. And I think that's a good learning for people present here to get an understanding of how a food park operator is settling into the state. It's a new concept, and we hope that it really gathers momentum, because as I was reading through that information docket, Karnataka is actually working on setting up a number of, or has sanctioned a number of food parks, some very specific to specific categories of food. And your food park success is, I think, going to be very important for providing that encouragement to a lot of other food parks which are still at the sort of drawing board level. Moving on to Ashok, while we've talked about how food is to be produced and how many people can come together under one umbrella to produce food, it needs to be carried to the consumer and to the markets, and that's where Ashok and his organization steps in. As we said that it's, and as Ashok really said, that it's not really about transporting ice creams and chocolates, it's also about giving a longer shelf life to agri-produce, and not just longer shelf life, it's also adding kilometers to the fruits and vegetables that are produced in the state. So over to you, Ashok.
Thank you, Siraj. Two things. One, the experience of working in Karnataka. We are a service provider, really. We're a service provider to the food parks, to the larger companies, the food processing units, the retail delivery companies. We provide the service. So for us, it has been a really good experience being here in Karnataka. In fact, not many of you know that our Asia Pacific headquarters are in Karnataka right now. We work in Thailand and Malaysia and Indonesia, in Australia and New Zealand, and all that is administered from Bangalore. So that it's been a uniformly positive experience. Having said that, there are challenges. There are challenges, some of them specific to Karnataka, some of them really countrywide challenges. I think the biggest one for a cold storage and a cold transportation company is electricity. Electricity continues to be the big stumbling block. Now there are a lot of experimentation afoot to have solar-powered cold storages, but it's in an infancy right now. In fact, some companies are even looking at solar-powered refrigerated trucks, but there are pluses and minuses. There are a lot of challenges in that area. So electricity, I think, is one major issue. The other one, Sanjay already touched on, is the size of the subsidy. There are subsidies for about 65 lakhs to set up a cold store. Now, if you're going to set up one cold store, one pre-cooling chamber and 2 trucks, that 65 lakhs is pretty much over. What we need to look at is a larger subsidy there to facilitate, and the cold store again has to be closer to the point of production, probably at a district level, at an aggregation level. So the harvest comes to a cold store before it starts the journey to the rest of the state or the rest of the country. So the size of the subsidy certainly is of concern. What does help, and talking about trucks, uh, refrigerated trucks of necessity have a time. They are under time pressure to get from point A to point B. Now, the roads have helped certainly. The Golden Quadrilateral, the North-South corridor, the East-West corridor have made a big difference. There are companies who are now operating shifts like a relay race. They pass the baton. The truck drives 6 hours. A new driver takes over, takes it on for the next 6 hours. So certainly quality of roads helps, and the Golden Quadrilateral has helped, but I think there's more to be done there. Related to roads is the multiplicity of state borders, checkpoints where while other trucks stop for inspection, reefer trucks cannot really stop long enough. They are under time pressure to get to the destination because you can't have a truck of either melted ice cream or a truck of spoiled fruit is no use to anyone. We had an ultimate case where we were transporting fresh eggs ready to hatch, and because of delays at various state checkposts, all the eggs hatched, and what they got is day-old chicks in the trucks. So a lot of that will change with the GST implementation. The hope is that come next year, once we get through all the teething troubles with the GST implementation, that the need to stop reefer trucks at state checkposts will be at least minimized. The National Center for Cold Chain Development is actually working on a scheme where trucks get like a green channel at all state borders, and reefer trucks go straight through. So some of those would be challenges on the ground, not specific to Karnataka, but certainly across the country. So.
Thank you, Ashok. That was very good insight into some of the opportunities and challenges that you encounter, and specific to Karnataka as well as national. I'll move on to Hemant now. ITC Foods has been a leader in the food processing industries. In fact, if I have to trace the growth of Indian food industry, the processed food industry, and ITC would probably be marching in step with that growth, providing leadership at times, and obviously today being in a position of being one of the leading food companies in the country. And Hemant, I know, has taken up this role recently, but is part of a legacy which has been growing over the years. ITC also, while they're big in Karnataka, are present across the country. Just last year, they've announced setting up a large food park in Punjab. So it would be great to hear from you, Hemant, on how has ITC's experience been in Karnataka, and also now that you're present all over the country and setting up investments in different places, how do you do a comparative analysis of where to be, and if you were to sort of given a fresh start, would you still do what you have done so far with respect to Karnataka, or would do anything different?
Thank you, Siraj. Some of the questions are very tough with Mr. Rao sitting next to me. I think when you look from a food business perspective, and I think when the way Mr. Mirchandani mentioned about transportation, even if I'm not looking at a cold chain product, even if I'm looking at a product which has got a fair amount of shelf life, the distance to market still is a very, very important part of the supply chain cost. So ITC's approach is that we will have a factory to feed up to 250 kilometers. So if there is any market, any factory should have a footprint of 250. Beyond that, we will like to set up another, because we believe there is a huge opportunity in this country. And that is why when I started by saying that we have 9 units in Bangalore, and I think as this city has also grown dramatically in terms of both ability to spend as well as the population, and therefore the market is fairly large. So we would like to be close to the market, and that is one of the reasons, Siraj, why we are looking at investing in different states. And you're right, there is a fair amount of, in fact, the policy change and the support that comes in from across the various state government is phenomenal. I think in terms of whether it is single window clearance, whether in terms of support to invest, I think each of the states are looking at in terms of how to make it, because I think it's good for the state, it's good for the state economy, it is good for the and the number of employment generation opportunities. It's all positive. Specifically, if I were to compare with the new food policy that came up in 2015, I think it's a fairly good policy. However, there are 2 or 3 areas for your consideration, sir. One is that most of this, when you set up a new unit, it is not that you will be able to exhaust the entire capacity in the next 2 or 3 years. It takes time for you to build the market. And therefore, today, the incentive on VAT, most of the states offer between 10 years to 12 years to 14 years. The policy currently is talking about 5 years. So if you can relook at and saying that give it about 8 to 10 years, I think that will, you'll be able to use the advantage that you're wanting to offer. So that is point one. The second thing is that this incentive is also in a method of reimbursement, while some of the states like West Bengal is in terms of remission, because if I really don't need to pay and then ask to take the money back, because that time the process of getting the money back also is a fairly long lead time, and since everything is automated, so I think if you can consider the remission part of it, and I think a third point is that for some reasons certain categories like sweet meats or snacks have been kept in a negative list. I think when you talk about giving opportunity for young entrepreneurs to come up, I think these are all in India. If you look at sweet meats and snack food, will be nothing less than 40-50,000 crore market. In fact, snack food itself is about 30,000 crore, and sweet meats would be there. So you could consider in terms of whether we really need a negative list as far as foods is concerned. Thank you, sir.
And Abhinay, the co-founder of Big Basket, I think you guys have really changed the rules of the game, and it would be interesting for us to hear from you how your enterprise is progressing. Yes, a lot of it started with non-food, but I'm not just talking about you, but the whole e-commerce space did not really start with food, but has now gradually made its presence or included food in their offerings, and I think that's a space which has a huge potential to grow it, but I would rather hear it from you, and the audience would probably like to hear it too.
Yeah, so as you rightly pointed out, grocery, online grocery is not a really an industry, right? Because when you have multiple players and it has kind of evolved over a period of time, that's when you really have an industry. So we are pretty much kind of figuring out things on our own as we go along. And when we started, the very basic question was, will anybody buy fruits and vegetables online? Because the Indian housewives, they all want to touch and feel before they buy, right? But the fundamental reason behind anybody has to really touch and feel is because the quality is not consistent, right? If I go to a store, there's a heap of 50 kg of tomatoes, I have to take out the best 1 kg out of that. Hence, I have to do touch and feel. But if somebody says everything is like, of the right size, right texture and everything, right? Nobody wants to really waste time going through that process. So one big challenge which is there when it comes to fresh food in this country is the standardization, right? So there are no standards. My definition of a good tomato or a good apple is very different from somebody else. So when we are, retailing such things online, we are taking those decisions on behalf of the customer. Versus when the customer is in the store, he is taking that call based on what his perception about the quality is. So for us to kind of really retail standard products, it's very difficult when it comes to fresh produce. So that's one, I think, area wherein we, not just as a state, but as a country, had to work a lot in terms of standardizing some of these quality parameters of fresh produce, right? So that's one big challenge we face. Coming to the specific challenges in Karnataka, again, in the fresh produce space, as was rightly pointed out that, what is produced at the farm, right, will obviously, has to go to the consumer, right? And the time it takes to reach the consumer is wherein the losses happen, right? So investing in post-harvest technology closer to the source so that those post-harvest losses could be minimized, right, will help in increasing the farmer's income and also will keep the prices at the consumer side low. So we have actually gone and opened 5 collection centers within Karnataka and 20 across the country, closer to the farm, wherein we buy directly from the farmers. Now it has 2 big advantages. One, obviously, the farmer gets a much better price. Traditionally, when they all selling through mandis, right, they were getting at best maybe 20-25% of the final retail price. But selling to us through the collection centers, they sometimes get close to 45-50% of the final retail price. So that doubles their income from that perspective. Also, since we are a technology-focused company and believe in entire digital processes, we actually pay the farmers within 24 to 48 hours, which was 7 to 10 days or 2 weeks in the earlier scenario, right? So we have gone ahead and invested in these collection centers, but I think as a government, looking at really increasing the farmers' income, and not just by increasing the shelf life, but also the price realization, a lot of investment need to go at setting up some kind of, a state-of-the-art packing centers closer to the farm, wherein it is packed and then it could be carried in proper manner, right, to the consuming market. So that's one. Second is the testing facilities. Now we are going big time into organic produce, right? There's a huge demand. Almost 5% of the fruits and vegetables which we sell currently are organic, right? But there's a better price realization, and there is a need to obviously educate the farmers, and the difference between the normal produce and the organic produce has to come down, right? So setting up some testing facilities to be able to conduct these when we have kind of taken up organic farming with the farmers is also the need of the hour. It's very difficult to engage private labs because they're very expensive, and they're very difficult to use the government labs, and there are not too many. So investing in the testing facilities at the farm level is also one of the critical areas which we have been recommending. In fact, last time also, Invest Karnataka, we have brought up this point, right? So yeah, overall, as I pointed out, we have been sourcing heavily from Karnataka. We have been investing heavily in Karnataka, but these are some of the challenges which we face on the fresh side of it. Also, which I pointed out to Ashok before the discussion, that how the last mile cold chain can be developed, right? And if there are no technologies as of now to handle what we do, right? But if there is some kind of, a task force to really arrive at from a government side and the players to develop low-cost cold chain facilities which can be used for last mile delivery, right, could be a big boost. Because the challenge there is, as a consumer, you are buying, you are buying curd, you are buying cheese, you are buying maybe fish, you are buying atta, sugar, fresh fruits and vegetables. All that has to come to you in that small truck, right, which should have multiple temperature zones to be able to be carried at the right temperature and get delivered at the doorstep. So that's one big challenge which we are facing. Thank you.
Abhinav, just in brief, what kind of a policy framework did you encounter? Because all of us have been more conventional in terms of our businesses, and therefore policies existed within which we sort of found our space. But you obviously represent something which is relatively new. So did the policy framework act as a hindrance or as a propeller to your initiative?
Yeah, so one of the big changes which, in fact, Karnataka did in the beginning was the APMC Act, right? So that really helped, because otherwise sourcing fruits and vegetables across the state, right, and registering is obviously a big challenge. So that policy helped a lot, and in fact, a lot of other states have followed suit. Then there is another policy which has been announced, which we are actually actively participating with the government, which is in the Triple P ISD, right, Integrated Horticulture Development. So we are participating and setting up, let's say, organic farming facilities, packing facilities with co-investment from the government. So there has been very pro policy environment from that perspective.
Great to know that. And while we talk about producing food, carrying food, storing food, delivering food, we have Dr. Sridhar with us. When you talk about CFTRI, that's, I think, one of the big brand enhancers for Karnataka across the country, because that is the nerve center for a lot of food research that goes on. What trends are you seeing in terms of research that is happening? And today, we are on two sides where on one end we have consumers, governments, civil society asking us to produce food which is more nutritious, addresses the issues of malnutrition. On the other hand, you have a similar group of people saying, okay, reduce this, reduce that, which is fat, sugar, and the whole healthy food demand. So India, fortunately, unfortunately, is on both sides of the equation. There's a chunk of food that needs things to be added to it, and there's another which needs things to be taken out of it. And what kind of research and requests from organizations are you seeing today at CFTRI for that improvement or conditioning of food to what really is needed?
Like CFTRI, our client range is from an individual farmer, say from a remote village, to an individual entrepreneur or medium and large scale enterprises. One of our client is a Big Basket, and we have worked for ITC and even for Cargill. So, and to speak more about the recent trends, we see like it was said earlier, like about water conservation. Water will be a major problem in future to grow foods. So we have introduced in many superfoods which consume very less water and which are high in nutrition, especially to address the protein malnourishment of the country. We have a crop called quinoa. We have developed agro technology, and we are